businesses and working together. And first of all, I'd like to welcome you all. Our organization is Remembering Black Dallas. We have Mr. Stan Wooten, who is going to give us a presentation today on that concept of food shopping. I want to just give you some information before we get started and let you know that Remember Black Dallas is a nonprofit organization, and our motto is, and it's on some of your business cards, if we don't do it, who will? If not now, when? And that's kind of our motto for our organization. Also, we try to promote, preserve, and advocate the history of Dallas and its surrounding cities. That's our mission statement. So, we would love to have any of you that's interested in joining us. We have many activities that are ongoing throughout the year. And right now, I'll just give you a few things that we are doing, what we do. First of all, we produce an annual calendar each year, and it's full of African American history and heritage of places and events that take place in Dallas. This year, the focus of the 2018 calendar is churches and businesses. And also within this, you'll find many of the historic church anniversaries and dates of when they started, and all information about churches and also businesses as well, local Dallas businesses. Also, we do an annual bus tour. It's in honor of the Mabel Chandler Scholarship. We have a fundraiser, and we use that for our fundraiser. Mabel Chandler was a counselor at Lincoln High School, and believe it or not, she and her husband sent over 70 students to college. Over 70. Now imagine just sending one today. But it was the same in the 1950s. And they made that effort and that sacrifice because they believed in education. She did not necessarily send the A honor roll students. She sent those students who were not financially able, the BC students, the ones that she knew as a counselor that would make it. So those are the ones that they supported because we knew that those who had the money and were able to, and there wasn't such thing much of scholarships and grants like there are now. So it was done out of pocket and through the efforts of people working together, churches even, helping sending promising students to college. So it was very important to them. Did Washington, D.C. We went to the opening of the new African American Museum there in D.C. This year, we went to the Whitney Plantation in Louisiana, and we also toured parts of New Orleans. We got to meet and Dookie Chase, Leah Chase. We went to her restaurant. We went to several sites in New Orleans. We toured all of New Orleans, and we were so pleased, and it was a very good tour that we did. Now, the next tour that we're doing and exploring, once again, African American culture and history and other places is that we're going to New York. We're going to explore Harlem. We're going to do all of the historical sites that relate to African American history, the African burial ground. Also, we'll be going to the other sites such as Ground Zero and the Statue of Liberty as well. So this is an all-inclusive tour. You get a meal each day, and the hotel is included. We're going to fly, but when we get there, you'll have a bus to carry you around everywhere you need to go. So that'll be a great tour. Now, at this time, I'm going to stop here and just mention also we preserve the food, the culture, the food of Dallas. We've published a cookbook, and this is not just your everyday Food Network cookbook. These are recipes from elderly people who are really no longer with us. So most of these recipes are over 70, 80 years old. And there are a few young people like myself. I'm a chef also. So I have a few of my original recipes in here as well. But for the most part, these are vintage recipes that you can see. Are you saying?
And happy holidays and happy Kwanzaa. I am thrilled to join you guys today and to have you join me for this presentation for a celebration of Kwanzaa 2017 and presenting the fourth principle of Kwanzaa, Ujamaa. And that name has a little magic in it for me because I love the meaning, I love the whole rationale behind it. It's a Swahili word. It means extended family, brotherhood, socialism. And as a political concept, it asserts that a person becomes a person through people or community. For me, I internalize that because I just revel in take joy and pride in the the stories that I want to share with you. One in particular, because it relates to everything in that first sentence. It relates to everything in that first sentence. The to build our own businesses, control our economics, our own community, and share it all. So that it works for our best interest and for our continued growth as a people. I've got some pictures to show you, to share with you, and this is my auntie. By the way, I'm a designer. I'm a mechanical designer. I design buildings now. I did design clothing, men's sportswear, and that's what she's doing. And the jacket you see on the left is a design that I did for the Cowboys at Super Bowl 12. We did jackets for the whole team on Super Bowl 10 and 12, which was 76 and 78. So we're a long ways back. But we had hooded jackets back then too. And those are some that I designed for the whole team, and they wore them out in 76. I wish I had that one because it was Stars and Stripes. Oh, really nice. Anyway, so that's what this is about. Now, I got to throw some money in here because we're talking economics, cooperative economics, and I need to focus on that just a little bit so that we don't get it twisted. The apparel industry is one of the apparel manufacturing and production industry as a whole itself is one of the largest industries in our country. The fashion apparel industry generated close to $400 million last year. 400 billion, I'm sorry. I get those mixed up. And the reason I got it mixed up, and that's why I'm showing these pictures, is because I don't want you to get it mixed up. That's $1 million you're looking at. That's 100 million, and that is a billion. That's $1 billion. This is something that probably none of us will ever see, and I don't know if anybody will ever see it. That's $1 trillion. And the reason I throw that out there is because quite often we talk about economics and figures and don't have a really good context. That helps kind of put it in perspective. These are my aunties. They were in the apparel industry when I came up as a young guy and decided I wanted to get in the apparel manufacturing industry too. And they helped me. They're really my cousins. They insisted I call them auntie. So we're talking about extended family. As I mentioned before, I think this really does so much to fit into Ujamaa because we didn't have all that much of a relationship before I decided to join them in the industry. And when that happened, oh, did they embrace me? And they said, from now on, you call us auntie. And they, it was just amazing how they took me under their wings and helped me learn everything I needed to know to do fairly well in the business.
Is that you on the left?
That is my son in the middle, and that's me on the on the left of the screen. Yeah, in the blue shirt. That is me. And that's me and my Aunt Margaret. She's 90 years old now, doing pretty well. And we took that this summer. That's Aunt Connie. Aunt Connie is 96 years old now. And both of them sewed pretty good. I'm going to show you some pictures of the stuff that they sewed. I mean, they're not just seamstresses. They are world-class seamstresses. I'll show you some of the things that they sewed and show you who they were sewing for. And I'm sure you will appreciate what their skills. That's one of the dresses that they sewed for a designer called Victor Costa. He was one of their top clients. He was the top client. He is known as the king of the copycats. So I'm glad I have you people here who understand that everything about the garment industry and design, it's not all pure, new, original design. A lot of it is copying. A whole lot of it is copying. Now, he was famous because he got training in New York and Paris, and he was very good at his craft. But he also realized he could make a whole lot of money if he copied the red carpet designs from the Oscars every year, which is how he got that nickname, King of the Copycats. The top designers, like the biggest names in the fashion world, would put their designs on the red carpet. He would copy them down almost line for line and then change a seam or add a zipper or something like that. And then, oh, it's a totally different design. And he would get by with that. And that's how he earned that name. Anyway, Victor Costa was really, really good at what he did. His wife, his ex-wife now, they divorced, has a big store out in North Dallas and Preston and Forest Lane and Preston Road, Forest Lane, called Terry Costa. He started doing wedding gowns, and that's what she does now. So you'll see this is some of the things that they did. Now, as a young man at 22, when I first got in the apparel manufacturing business, you could possibly picture me walking into my auntie's sewing shop, which was a renovated garage, and seeing taffeta, satin taffeta, like this dress, and velvet and lace just strewn everywhere all over that shop. And all I could see was fabric. I had no idea what they were whipping together was going to come out to look like this, like some of these things. Gorgeous designs. This is all Victor Costa's. And it was sold in the Dallas Apparel Mart. A lot of what he sold. Oh, I need to emphasize that, and I don't see them. Oh, yes, there they are. These dresses were sold in the finest retail stores in America. Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus. And a lot of them, unbeknownst to most people, a lot of them were made in Oak Cliff. Yes, by Black people. Yes. And I hope that we spread this news, because I think it's a very well kept secret, even though we've been trying to make it better known. We did pretty well, and this was the center of the Dallas apparel marketing industry. The biggest apparel mart in the whole world under one roof. It was the largest, right out on Stemmons Freeway. And it was 1.8 million square feet before it was demolished. And it was demolished in 2006. That Great Hall was the center of the apparel mart. And there were several movies filmed in the Great Hall. Logan's Run is the name of the one that comes to mind. That's the biggest movie that they made in apparel mart. Now, before we go further, I got a little trick question I want to ask everybody. I've done this before, and sometimes I get pretty good responses, but hardly ever does anybody get it correct. What do you think? Anybody who would like to come on in, brother, join us. Anybody who, as a matter of fact, you're just in time to help get the correct answer on this. What is the most expensive fabric in the world?
Silk.
Silk? That's usually a top. That's usually a top answer, but no, it's not. Anybody else want to take a guess before I tell you what it is?
Leather.
Leather? No.
Taffeta. Taffeta.
Taffeta? No.
Satin.
No. It is okay. Does anybody else want to guess before I tell you?
Suede.
No.
Satin.
Oh, linen.
No.
Satin.
No. It's gonna be something that y'all haven't heard of. I'm pretty sure. It's pretty exotic. It's chartouche.
Chartouche.
Yes. Chartouche is a woolen fabric that's made from the hairs of a mountain goat. The mountain goat climbs these really steep hills like the Himalayas, and the hairs they don't really trim them from the goat. They collect hairs from that goat off of leaves that he's feeding on. I can't believe I did that. Sorry about that. They collect those hairs and then process them into wool. It is the finest wool known to man. When it's woven together, can pull large strands, a 55-inch spool, a 45-inch width of wool through the ring. If I took this ring off, it's so delicate, they could pull that whole 45 inches through this ring. So that's how delicate it is. The second most expensive fabric in the world would be a wool knit called vicuna, and beyond that would be cashmeres and things like that. But the silks come in after the wools because it takes. Do you have a question? Oh, I have some. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. But yes. So I have fun tossing that question out because sometimes it gives people brings them some awareness to a fabric that they perhaps had never heard of. It's called chartouche. It's an Indian fabric, and I had the overwhelming pleasure to work for Stanley Marcus, work for the Neiman Marcus company, and I've come to find out that he traveled the world to bring back the best quality fabrics, garments, and everything right here to Dallas at the flagship store. And chartouche he bought every bit of chartouche he could find when he discovered the quality that was in that fabric. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. That is the jacket that we made for the Cowboys. I mentioned that. So the people who just came in, we just talked a little bit about Ujima, and the cooperative economics of, and I was sharing my story of having the overwhelming joy, the thrill of working with family and producing really good, high quality fabrics. I can't sew. I never could. My aunties had that covered, and they let me know it. So they would sew all of my samples and initial designs, and then we would contract the production out. I had a lot more designs. These are about 5-6 different ones. This is a guy who made a lot of what I was doing possible with the Cowboys, with Dallas Cowboys. That's a picture of my late friend, Harvey Martin. Harvey was Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 12 in 1978. A good friend of mine, former schoolmate at South Oak Cliff. And by accident, I got that contract with the Cowboys. I went in and asked him, Harvey, can you try and get me a permit to sell these jackets to the public? And he says, well, no, I'll try. So he went in and talked to the people. He called me back and says, hey, I got good news and I got bad news. You want the good one first? I said, anyway, he broke it down and says, you can't get a permit to sell to the public from the Cowboy office. It has to go to New York, to the NFL office before they have to give you permission if you can get permission that way. But I also have orders from the whole team. They love the jacket, so we got those orders 3 days before they were trying to take off for the Super Bowl in Miami, and we had a job on our hands getting 100 jackets ready for them in 3 days. But my Aunt Margaret, my Aunt Connie, and the cutters and sewers, everybody we knew we were headed to the Super Bowl. Everybody said, we doing this. And we worked around the clock. We worked 24/7 for 3 days straight. And when they were boarding the aircraft out of Love Field Airport, I was literally throwing their jackets over the fence, calling the names out. So here's your jacket. And that's unforgettable. Unforgettable. It would have made it a lot better if they'd won the game. They did not. They did not win the Super Bowl that we did that. That was the first one. That was Super Bowl 10. That's the one they didn't win. Super Bowl 12, they dominated that one. But that was a blast. It was a big fun. And for those of you who just came in late, I can share a few of the. I learned a lot from people who volunteered, people that I paid, just a big community of people in that industry. We don't have that anymore because 95% of everything we wear in this country is made in Asia or India or what have you. And it's been that way since the mid 70s. It started in the mid 70s. And by the 80s, I think it got up to about in the 90s. Right now, it's well over 90%. 90% of what we wear and consume is made overseas. So we lost a lot when that happened. I knew of at least 5 black production houses in Oak Cliff, that no longer exist. 5 different operations. And there's one gentleman a couple of people that I really have to give some thanks to, besides my, especially as it relates to Ujama, because the cooperative economics, I love that so much. It's got magic in it. Ujama. These guys, these 2 competitors, African American men. One was George Scale, who had ultimately the largest black-owned and operated apparel manufacturing operation in the South, period. He had as many as 35 people under one roof working for him, for his company. And it was located right across the street in the apparel production industrial area, which is across the street from the old apparel mart. And he, I'm sure, had the only production house in that area. That whole area was full of wholesalers and manufacturers, apparel wholesalers and manufacturers. And in the 70s, George was I met him through my aunties who did some contract work with him, but it was a thrill getting to know him. He is a minister now. Thought he would be here today. May have had some problems getting in here, but I just want to tell you a little bit about George's story. Even though George got to be the largest black-owned and operated apparel manufacturer, it wasn't always that way. He had a competitor who was another black man, and he had an operation in Oak Cliff also. George, like a lot of people do sometimes, ran into some tax problems and problems with the IRS. These 2 competitors, I'm so proud of them. I love them. Hubert's deceased now. Hubert said, you come in, you move in with me, and we'll work it out. And it helped George get on his feet. And Hubert is deceased now, but just to see these professionals who were competitors, they were competing for the same business.
Was Hubert?
Team up. Pardon?
Was Hubert also black?
Yes. Yes, Hubert Johnson. Yeah, he's deceased now. And yeah, he was. And he had a successful business. But George got on his feet so well, he built it and continued to build it. And just, Hubert never told me that happened. George told me. And I go, well, it's pretty much like Hubert. Hubert was my cutter. And the cutter is always responsible for maximizing your fabric, maximizing the usage of your fabric and laying it out so that you get the most for your money. And they did this very well. Both of them had been doing it since they were teenagers. I think George started when he was maybe 19, 20 years old, just moved to Dallas. We had a big apparel manufacturing industry here at one time. And it was very, very good. And I don't know if it'll ever come back, but I have a book. And all of this material is in the book. And I have this theory that we can get apparel manufacturing back, but it won't be the same way that we manufactured apparel before. I'm going to wrap up now. I'll tell you this because this is really important. We live in a high-tech society nowadays, and technology is driving so many things. There's a way that we can get apparel manufacturing back, but it's going to have to be through high-tech. It will not be able to compete seam for seam with other countries like in Asia, Africa, and India. If there are any questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, they might push you out and carry on, but I think we have to work at it and try to whip them in line, you know, about that. But I don't think we're going to just leave. And they know here at the museum, whenever we're doing a project, you know, they would say, we can go to Kinko and get this. Yeah, but what about ALP printers over there?
Right.
I know it's going to cost more.
Right.
But in the long run, it doesn't cost more because it's benefit the community comes back to us.
Exactly.
And we have to get a mindset that we're going to support it and go in there and just stay on them until they get it right.
Exactly. And I really wanted to thank Mr. Wooten for his information, because hopefully it has not fallen on deaf ears. And also that things that we've talked about, economic development, it takes, first of all, we have the blueprint. It's been laid out many times before. And we don't have to recreate the wheel. We just need to go back and look at it and maybe tweak it to a more technology type of world that we're in now. And hopefully we can be a support to younger people who are coming into business and understand that the playing field was never level for us. So yes, they might charge a little more because they didn't get the backing from the banks and from their parents. Like, you know, some parents, they come out of you know, wealthy families. We didn't do that. We've never gotten our reparation. And so we have to start from scratch, so to speak. And so we have to understand that. That's kind of what Dr. Robinson was talking about. We have to understand that we might have to charge a little more, but also whenever I do an event, I do catering. All of my employees are Black, and I know that I am supporting them as well as myself, even giving up some of mine to support those people that are coming behind me and helping me with my business as well. So let's think about supporting our Black business. And hopefully we have inspired some young people here to think about how that they can turn this around and bring in the community from within and not have to outsource to different countries, different companies, and hopefully they can help develop that type of concept that we're looking at today. Thank you.
Him running to me, and you say, I am your shepherd. Why aren't you following me?
Okay.
Dr. Barbara Moore at SMU. She's still there today. She's world renowned. If you want to, because she could tell you, you said Professor Glover sent you. She's a good friend of mine, I know for years. That she's going to be straight with you. She's going to be hard on you. But she's going to tell you, just like these young men. I wish you would come down with. Barron's was one of her students. This young man has traveled all over the world. His mother's here now, and they would come to SMU just like this. I taught him. in the 80s.
So we do have a musician right there, the one that says the hello. She's the second chair for the school district in Congo.
What?
She plays the bass clarinet.
Oh, you play second conga? You play the conga too?
Clarinet, bass clarinet.
Oh, the bass clarinet. Oh, you play clarinet. Okay.
Oh my bad.
Because in DeSoto, what's happening now, one of the things I was discussing is that in one of my concerns in DeSoto, because I hear about all the sports all the time. I hear all the sports, all the twin athletes out there I be watching. But sometimes I be wondering what's going on out there culturally.
Yes.
That's what I be listening for. You know, where are the young men and women academically? You know, because I know you're doing the sports thing, you're knocking the socks off sports. Like at SMU, we knocked the socks off. When I was at SMU, we had Eric Dickerson, we had Pony Express, we was knocking the socks off of Michael Carter, his daughter is now in shock. I knew all of them. I told them I was their advisor. You know what I'm saying? But I would also tell them that if you're not getting an academic side of it, you're gonna lose out in the long run. Because everything you do, be it sports, music, whatever, is a business. And if you're not taking care of what? Your business,
All right.
then you're not being successful in what you're about.
Hello everyone, I'm J.D. Mitchell of the Connection Learning Institute, and we will be at the Black Expo of Dallas, January 13th and 14th, celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. It will be located at the Women's Museum in the historic Fair Park. It's going to be an amazing event for the entire family. There will be a kids zone, a health and wellness fair, celebrity artists, a hip-hop summit. We'll be merging generations, demographic to demographic. It's going to be a great event, financial wellness, anything and everything that is good for our community. It's the best that Black Dallas has to offer. Go to blackexpodallas.com. You can hit us on Instagram at Black Expo Dallas, Twitter at Black Expo Dallas, Facebook at Black Expo Dallas. Get your tickets today.